The new trailer for Dune Part 3 gives fans their first look at director Denis Villeneuve's highly anticipated trilogy capper. The movie adapts Dune Messiah, Frank Herbert's second book in the literary series. Several familiar faces are back from the first two Dune movies, including one character that those who haven't read the books will be shocked to see, and introduces new characters like the villain played by Robert Pattinson. With Dune Part 3, Villeneuve told the press at a launch event for the teaser trailer that he wanted to approach the material, quote, with a new pair of eyes. Villeneuve was originally going to direct a different film after Dune Part 2, but he realized there was a palpable hunger for a Part 3 while doing the global press tour for Part 2 and interacting with fans. He said, quote, as a filmmaker, when you make a series of movies, you are in a relationship with the audience, and I felt a responsibility to finish the story. He added, I said to myself, it's a good idea to come back to this world not by nostalgia, but by urgency, and to go there with a critical eye, and the idea to not be self-indulgent. I said to my team it will be a very different film. Very different. A Dune movie, but with a different tone, a different rhythm, a different pace. And if the first movie was more of a contemplation, like a movie of a boy exploring a new world, and the second one being a war movie, this one is a thriller. It's more action-packed and more tense and more muscular than the two others, I would say. So, let's break down who's who in the first trailer for Dune Part 3 and what we can glean from how the movie might differ from its source material. The first thing to note about Dune Part 3 is that the story picks up 17 years after the events depicted in Dune's Part 1 and 2. That's 5 years later than in the book, Dune Messiah. And the planet Arrakis has changed in those ensuing years. As Villeneuve explained at the trailer launch, the climate is different. Arrakis is still the desert planet, but there are differences. We are visiting new sets, new places. I brought the camera in areas of the planet you guys have not seen before. And we are visiting new planets as well. Famous opera hater Timothee Chalamet is back as Paul Atreides, who rules as the new Padishah Emperor and has the blood of 61 billion people on his hands. That's right, the hero we followed in the first two movies is now a world-conquering tyrant. Embraced as the Messiah of the Fremen, Paul has triggered an interstellar jihad, but his visions have convinced him it's the only way to ultimately save humanity. With the story of Paul Atreides, author Frank Herbert wanted to subvert the romantic notion of the populist hero and beloved political leader by showing how such figures can ultimately lead people to war, death, and destruction. Thankfully, this is just science fiction, and that's never, ever happened in real life. At the trailer launch, Villeneuve said, we see Paul dealing with the consequences of having too much power and him trying to figure out how to get out of this cycle of violence. And of course, he can see the future, so he's kind of invincible. We follow people trying to overthrow him. Among those who would like to see the Emperor dethroned are the Spacing Guild and everybody's favorite scheming space nuns, the Bene Gesserit.
Goodbye, young human. I hope you live.
Among those who are in cahoots with Reverend Mother Mohiam are the Bene Telax, more on them in a bit, and Paul's own wife, Princess Irulan, once again played by Florence Pugh. You'll recall that Irulan is the daughter of Shaddam IV, whom Paul deposed at the end of Part 2.
The life debt has been paid. Spare my father now and I will be your willing bride. The throne will be yours.
Paul only married her for political reasons. In the book, Paul and Irulan have no children, and Paul keeps his Fremen true love Chani as his concubine. At the trailer launch, Villeneuve said Dune Part 3 is a quite intense story, but the heart is still a love story. The heartbeat of the film is still the relationship between Paul and Chani. We don't know yet how Paul and Chani get back together in Part 3 since she left him at the end of the second film, understandably disappointed in him marrying the princess and becoming the emperor. The trailer ends with a shot of Chani that makes it look like she's going to battle Paul, but that could just be a bit of misleading trailer trickery.
If we have a girl, what will we name her?
In Dune Messiah, Paul and Chani eventually have twins, son Leto II and daughter Ganima. The twins are in Part 3, where they are played by Nakoa Wolf Momoa and Ida Brooke, respectively. Yes, you heard that right, Momoa. He's the son of Jason Mamoa, who played Duncan Idaho in the first Dune, and totally isn't back for Part 3. Oh wait, no, he is. We'll get to that too. Leto and Ghanima are pre-born with the memories of their ancestors, or what the Bene Gesserit refer to as abominations. This is where things get tricky. And while we're not going to get into full spoilers from the books here, it would seem that Dune Part 3 may be radically altering the story from the book. The actors playing Leto and Ghanima in Part 3 are both quite young, but in Dune Messiah, those characters only ever appear as infants. Perhaps Leto and Ghanima appear as part of a framing device for Part 3, where the saga of what happened to their parents is relayed to them, maybe by Irulan herself, who serves as essentially the narrator of the first book and eventually tutors Paul's children. Irulan is a historian in the books, so this framing device approach seems the most straightforward way to explain how Paul and Chani can have kids that age in this movie. Alternatively, perhaps Paul sees them in some sort of spice vision as he did his then unborn sister Alia in Part 2. Speaking of whom,
You'll now learn the truth about our family.
Anya Taylor-Joy reprises her role as the now adult Alia in Part 3. In the books, she serves as a regent and guardian to Paul's heirs. Based on this trailer, and Taylor-Joy's own comments at the trailer event, Alia appears to play a key role in the film as her brother's most intense ally. Alia has been aged up for this movie, whereas the character was just an adolescent in Dune Messiah. The Fremen of Arrakis also worship her, referring to her as Saint Alia of the Knife. In the story, she seeks not only to thwart the conspiracy against Paul, but also to find a mate.
Alia has a very intense blessing curse situation. She carries the weight and the wisdom of generations and generations in her head. She's never in a singular conversation. It's kind of everything everywhere all at once. The one thing that she really feels most strongly about is her love and devotion to her brother, because that is the only person who's ever made her feel like she makes sense. He's understood her from before she was even born, and she will do anything for him, to various degrees of insanity.
In Dune Messiah, Alia becomes romantically involved with Duncan Idaho, who is essentially resurrected by the Bene Telax, one of the factions scheming to overthrow Paul. They create a Gola of Duncan, a manufactured genetic replicant of a dead human, and gift him to Paul. Now called Hate, Duncan, or Hate, is a mentat with no memories of his past life as Duncan Idaho. Although given to Paul as a gift, Hate is actually a weapon wielded by the Telax to mess with Paul's head and, if need be, kill him. Villeneuve acknowledged that Duncan Idaho is back for the third film, but played coy about the hate of it all when asked about it at the trailer launch.
And he comes back just at the right moment in the story. And it's like a very, very important comeback. Paul is struggling with his identity, and having that kind of strong Atreides figure coming back from the past will have a tremendous impact. That's what I will say. And I'm looking forward to, I will say he's fully packed.
The Telax are also behind Robert Pattinson's Scytale, a face dancer who can shapeshift into anyone. Scytale is a key player in the conspiracy between the Bene Gesserit, Spacing Guild, and Irulan's House Corrino to overthrow and ultimately eliminate Paul. Face dancers are genetically programmed to remain loyal to the Telax and are used to eliminate or replace anyone at odds with the Telax's agenda. Robert Pattinson said at the trailer launch,
"He's an unusual character in the book. I mean, you can't really tell whose side he's on. Is kind of what makes it quite interesting. It's not, I wouldn't say he's a kind of conventional bad guy as such. I don't think he is. He might even be a good guy. Who knows?"
Helping to prosecute Paul's war is his old Fremen mentor Stilgar, once again played by Javier Bardem. We see him at a few different points in the teaser trailer, but it's what Bardem had to say at the trailer launch event that was particularly revealing about how Stilgar, who had been a true believer in Paul as the Lisan al-Gaib, feels about it 17 years later.
Well, I think it takes him to a place where he sees different realities of what being in power means after so long. And he's in this contradiction between the loyalty to the idea that he strongly fought and believed back in the day, and also the result of the idea becoming something that he thinks or feels that it may not be a thought that one day he dreamed about. Sounds complicated, but so is a complicated book. What I mean, it's a great analogy about the idea of power and having the power. And then Stuart is there in that contradiction.
You young pup! You young pup!
Rebecca Ferguson's Lady Jessica spends much of the book on the planet Caladan with Gurney Halleck. While Josh Brolin reprises his role as Gurney, don't expect to see as much of him in this film if the character's very minor role in Dune Messiah is any indication. Likewise, Lady Jessica's role will likely be smaller in Part 3 than it was in the prior films, but we do see her reminding Paul of the greatest difference between him and his father, Duke Leto.
Your father never started a war.
Duke Leto does seem to still weigh heavily on Paul in Part 3. We see the House Atreides signet ring being placed into someone's hands at one point in the trailer, a ring that we know will one day pass to his son Leto II, who becomes a central protagonist in Frank Herbert's subsequent books, Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune.
I see possible futures all at once.
While Paul Atreides' journey from hero to desperate concludes in Dune Messiah, the story of House Atreides continues on through his kids Leto II and Ghanima. Denis Villeneuve has previously said his time with the Dune franchise ends with Part 3, but it seems very unlikely that Warner Brothers and Legendary are just going to let such valuable IP lie dormant and not try to adapt Frank Herbert's third book, Children of Dune. It's almost like we can foresee it in a vision. I'm high on spice right now. Dune Part 3 is currently scheduled to open in theaters on December 18th, the same day as Avengers Doomsday, but that's a whole other thing. For more coverage on all those things, you're already at the right place. Be sure to subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.